Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, I know we talked about this extensively on Wednesday, but there's no question now this story is getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the deadline approaches tonight, midnight, to be technical, 12:01, so 1 minute after midnight, and that's it. SNAP benefits, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, as they're now called, as we used to say, food stamps, which 42 to 43 million Americans across this country, people in America rely on, are going to run out. They're going to run out, and this is very important, not because President Trump wants it to happen, not because Republicans want it to happen, but because Senate Democrats, and in particular, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, is petrified of a primary challenge from the radical left of his party, led by AOC, who is poised to primary him in the next election cycle. And so to show the Democrats, and in particular, the Marxists, the radicals, the communists in his party, the Zoran Mamdani people, the Bernie Sanders people, the AOC people, that he is going to stand up to Trump, even if it means burning the country to the ground. He's going to resist. Long live the resistance. And that's why we are now at this moment. The Democrats, in 13 consecutive votes, 13, have refused to pass what is called a clean CR, a clean continuing resolution that would authorize the federal government to continue to operate and to continue to be funded. So, for 13 times, this is very important, what the Democrats have voted for is to literally shut the government down. And so, federal employees for a month now are not working. They are not getting paid. They are not allowed to work, even if they wanted to work. If they wanted to work without pay, they're not allowed, with a few exceptions, i.e. air traffic controllers. But outside of that, whether you want to or not, you don't have a job. And if you want to get technical about it, the agency that administers and disseminates the food stamp benefits is the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA. Technically, we don't have a USDA. Now, it's temporary. Obviously, when the funding resumes, the department is there, all the infrastructure is there, the employees will be called back. But my point being, the Democrats have voted the USDA, for now, out of existence. So, who shut the government down? They did. There's no disputing this. Now, they're doing it, they say, because they want to extend Obamacare subsidies at the higher level that they were under Biden, and that they're using the shutdown, as their words, they openly admit it, leverage. In other words, we want people to suffer. We want the air traffic controllers to suffer. We want the military to suffer. We want federal government employees to suffer. And now, yes, poor, lower-income Americans, or those who rely on Social Security, on food stamps, even including, by the way, many of those on Social Security. I got a heartbreaking email, in fact, several, from people who are senior citizens who are on Social Security, and they said, Jeff, I can't make ends meet with my Social Security. Food is too high, groceries are too high, rent is too high. I need the SNAP benefits. Without SNAP, I don't eat. This is heartbreaking. And yet they're willing now to sacrifice our fellow Americans, those who are most vulnerable, those most in need, to what? Extort the Republicans into giving them more money for illegal aliens? Because at the heart of their demands, the Democrats are now asking for $1.5 trillion, much of it to go to taxpayer-funded free health care for illegals. I have a great health care system plan, don't get me wrong, but I pay for it. Mike, he pays for his. Sandy, she pays for hers. Most of you pay for your health insurance. And even you, or those of you on Medicare, you pay all for sorts of extra benefits, but you paid into the system to get Medicare. So how come we Americans have to pay through the nose for our health care, but illegals, what, they get it for free? We pay for their health insurance? And this is why they're willing now to literally not just shut the government down, but tonight at midnight, technically it's tomorrow, 12:01 a.m., low-income women, I'm not kidding, many of them with children, are not going to have food. Elderly people are not going to have food. The working poor, I'm flooded with emails saying, Jeff, I'm a working man. I have to support a wife or a partner, a child, 2 children. I work 2 jobs. You look at energy costs, utility bills, gas, groceries, rent, car. You have to have a car to go to work. Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states in the entire country. In fact, as I said on X last night, there's a new bombshell report out. The most expensive state in the entire country to raise a child is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It costs over $30,000 per child. This is insane. And overall, we are one of the most expensive states to live in. I'm just using us as an example. As I said on X, crushing taxes. Rent, $3,000 easy. Some of the highest housing costs in the country. Utility, energy bills that'll break your back. Look how much they charge us for gas, how much they tax gas. I mean, I could go on and on. The cost of living in this state is unbelievably expensive. By the way, there's a new report out. You know, in most places in America, still, family makes $100,000 a year, they get by. $100,000 a year in Massachusetts, you can barely survive. $100,000 a year? And so you have people who are, they work their butt off. They're working 60, 70 hours a week. Jeff, I've got 2 jobs. My wife works. Everybody's working. We still need the food stamps. Or we make too much money, we don't qualify for the food stamps. And now, because they want to use it for leverage, to try to push Donald Trump to give away a free health care to illegals, and keep this sham, this boondoggle known as Obamacare going? So they want people to starve? Maura Healey, I want, please stop whatever you're doing. All of you, please, you need to hear this, okay? You need to hear this. Maura Healey yesterday held a press conference. Do you know what her response is to the looming now hunger food crisis, this food stamp crisis? Roll cut 25, Mike.
We start by supporting our local food banks, food pantries, and community organizations who feed people every single day. They're expecting a big surge in demand, So the first thing is we want to help them in this difficult moment. I've been heartened to see the turnout in recent days, and continue to encourage people to visit your local food pantry, contact them, and see what you can do. As a state, we are going to advance $4 million to our food banks, which support over 800 community organizations around the state. This is from our existing MEFAP program, which is the Massachusetts Emergency Food Assistance Program, that already provides $4 million to our community partners every month.
Pathetic. Pathetic. I'm telling you, she should be run out of office. On this alone, $4 million in a state that, listen to this, has 1.1 million residents on food stamps. By the way, 60% of whom, do the math, over 600,000 are illegal aliens. There's an $8 billion rainy day fund. $8 billion. Okay, on his way back from Asia, which was an incredibly successful trip, by the way, and we'll probably get into that later in the show today. President Trump now, for the first time, is urging Senate Republicans to use what's called the nuclear option, i.e. now to end the Democrat filibuster. The Republicans have voted consistently to fund the government, both in the House and in the Senate. They have the majority. But in the Senate, you need 60 votes to break the filibuster. They have gotten votes consistently from almost every Republican. Fetterman has joined them, Democrat from Pennsylvania. So ironically, they are getting about 54 votes every time to reopen and fund the entire government. That is a majority. But with the filibuster, you need to get to 60. And so Trump now is saying, invoke the nuclear option, end the filibuster, and then reopen the government. Now, the reason why Trump is saying let's go nuclear is I think now he's worried. I think he's worried about what may happen this weekend, what's going to happen obviously tomorrow, and especially if this thing continues for another week or two, where you can start to see real hunger among many, many Americans if the food stamps continue to be paused and they are not getting their SNAP benefits. Now, the reason why the Republicans in the Senate, and honestly, this is one of the few times I do disagree with Trump, the reason why the Republicans in the Senate do not want to invoke the nuclear option, i.e. end the filibuster, is that once you do that, there's no going back. So, God forbid, if the Democrats retake the Senate or they retake the presidency, then the Republicans will not be able to use the filibuster to block some of their most radical, extreme proposals. It can then be literally 50 plus 1. 50 votes in the Senate, tie-breaking vote by the vice president. You get an Obama in there. You get an AOC, say future AOC, and the damage could be immeasurable. And so the Republicans really don't want to use the nuclear option because they fear that one day they'll be in the minority and then they'll have no way to stop a socialist or communist president from taking a wrecking ball to the country. And so it's one of the last checks and balances left, and that's why they don't want to break it. But Trump is clearly now saying Americans are going to go hungry. And as president of the United States, I don't want to see that happen. Now, coming back to here in Massachusetts, because it's in a sense indicative of what's happening around the country with the Democrats. Here you have Maura Healey, who just a couple days ago, her administration under her name, sent out emails to every single SNAP recipient, 1.1 million in Massachusetts alone, blaming Trump for the shutdown, which is a lie, and blaming Trump for the fact that they're not going to get their food stamps tomorrow on November 1st. So, as she's playing these ridiculous partisan games to score cheap political points, yesterday, I played the cut, well, I'm gonna advance $4 million, a paltry $4 million, to some food banks here in Massachusetts, while she's sitting on an $8 billion, it's supposed to have $8 billion. We don't know if they've rated it or not, and I'm going to get to that. But there's supposed to be $8 billion in that rainy day fund. Now, as I said on X, just tap into the rainy day fund. You want to prevent hunger. You want to prevent people from, not going to grocery stores and looting, as many are now threatening to do, and start stealing food off the shelves, or, God forbid, start ripping grocery bags out of the arms of customers tomorrow in the parking lot, as many of them are threatening to do as well, then just tap into the rainy day fund. $8 billion can cover this for months and months and months. All you got to do is cover it for maybe 15 days. Now, what's remarkable, please, you have to hear this. Kathy Hochul in New York. In other words, governments in the region, state governments, in order to prevent the looting of grocery stores, in order to prevent people going wild, attacking grocery store employees as they're stealing food, which is what happened at a market basket here in Massachusetts just a few days ago. Okay, it's a national story. Governor Kathy Hochul now says she will tap into the state's reserve fund to pay for SNAP benefits. The governor of Rhode Island, Mike McKee, says they will tap into the rainy day fund to make sure that people get their food stamps tomorrow in Rhode Island. In Vermont, the governor there has come out and said, we will tap into the state rainy day fund, contingency fund, and we will pay the SNAP benefits up to the 15th of November. And then we'll take it from there. Connecticut, they are tapping into their rainy day fund. Maine, the governor, Janet Mills, I'm not a big fan of hers, but she says we are tapping into the rainy day fund. We are going to make sure everyone in our state gets food stamps, at least for the first week, and then we'll take it from there. In other words, throughout the entire New England Northeast area, every state government except one is going to tap into the rainy day fund. And that's Maura Healey. That's Maura Healey. She's the only one. And so this begs the question, why? Why? $4 million is nothing. By the way, Massachusetts receives, listen to this, $240 million in SNAP benefits from the federal government. Because we have over 1 million, many of them illegals, who are using SNAP. That really should be the Democrats' motto. That's certainly Maura Healey's motto. We live to screw you. 6:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends. I want to go to the phone lines. Lines are blazing. And two questions I want to ask you. Number one, why won't Governor, both local and national, I want to do both. Why won't Governor Maura Healey, hold it Healey, tap into the rainy day fund? As I've pointed out now, they're supposed to be $8 billion. That's in theory, that's what's supposed to be in there. So she could cover, the first, like in Vermont, the governor up there, he's covering up until November 15th. Or what is it? Hochul is going to cover at least the first week. And then they'll see what happens if there's an agreement next week or whatever. But so, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, Vermont, state of New York, almost every state government in our entire region, they're all dipping into their rainy day funds. Some a little more, some a little less, but the point is they're going to pay SNAP benefits. And the reason is obvious. Number one, you hope they don't want fellow Americans to go hungry. Number two, and I think this is the real fear. Look, when people are hungry, you want them to what? Start going crazy in the grocery stores? And it's not just that it's going to be mass looting and thievery and stealing, but they're going to start, assaulting workers at these grocery stores, cashiers. They're going to start taking food out of people in the parking lot. I mean, it could lead to a riots. So just for the sake of public order, they're like, no, let's not play with this. Not hold it, Healy. Healy said 4 million. That's it. I'm telling you, 4 million in a population. Remember, we're 7 million. 1.1 million are on food stamps. Now, again, about 600,000 are illegal aliens. About 60% are illegals. So the real number, because I don't believe illegals should get food stamps or any welfare benefits. None. So you're looking at about 500,000, 500,000, give or take. Many of them are going to feel the pinch. Many of them. And look, I'm bearing my soul to all of you like I'm in the confessional. The emails that I have been inundated with, flooded with, I can't tell you. I mean, you can't read all of them. They're just coming in so fast. A lot of them are members of Kuhner country. And it's the elderly in particular who are living on Social Security, and that's it. That's their only income. And these are good, decent, people who worked hard their whole life. And they go, Jeff, life has gotten too expensive. Biden, his inflation killed us. And I need those food stamps, or I don't eat. Single mothers, we don't eat, Jeff. I work. I'm doing everything I can. You've got to see my rent. You've got to see my electric bill. You've got to see it's just too expensive. We're getting killed. I need the food stamps. And the thing is, almost to a man or woman, this is to me what breaks my heart. Honestly, I'm on the verge of tears. Every one of them says, please don't read my story. And I'll write back to a couple of them and say, but I'll keep you anonymous, I promise. And you know what they all tell me? I'm too proud. They're saying to me, I'm ashamed that I'm on food stamps. It bothers me that I'm on food stamps. Jeff, I wasn't raised like this. And I write back to them, there's nothing wrong with being on food stamps. None. We're a family. We're supposed to take care of each other. You're not some illegal who's scamming the system. You're not some person who's sitting home all day, an able-bodied young person, getting stoned. And I used to say watching Jerry Springer, but they took Jerry Springer off the air. So whatever, watching reality TV. Okay, whatever, playing video games. Here. So you're not at home getting stoned and playing video games all day. It's not, dude, it's not, or man, it's not your fault. Biden broke us. I go to the grocery store. It's expensive. My energy bill, Healy's insane. How much they're charging us now for just simple, whatever, utilities and electricity. The cost of living in this state is out of control. And if you're living in particular on a fixed income, or if you're a single mom, and you've got her, and by the way, that's why I said in my opening monologue, we are now by far, not even close, the most expensive state to raise a child. You need the food stamps. Please, take it. That's what it's there for, to help fellow Americans. And hopefully as the economy gets better under Trump, and prices start going down, and the cost of living starts going down, and you start making more money, and wages start going up, you won't need the food stamps. But don't be ashamed. But I'm telling you, it's like, I want to read this. This is so moving and powerful. And they're like, please, Jeff, I want to keep this private. Because they're all afraid. my relative may hear about it because everybody says, oh, my family members listen to you or my best friends listen to you. I don't want them to know I'm on food stamps. These are our people. They're hurting. And so they tax us through the nose, to the hilt, for apparently for a rainy day fund. This is the rainy day. And everybody else, if Rhode Island can do it, if Vermont can do it, if Maine can do it, if the state of New York can do it, why can't Maura Healey do it? And I'll tell you why. And I want to give a hat tip to Mark on Messenger, because Mark hit the nail, I think, right on the head. Here is what he wrote to me. And again, best audience in the business. Jeff, I have a question. Do you think Maura Healey won't dip into the $8 billion rainy day fund because she already did to pay for all the illegal aliens as freebies? I'm thinking she did. And that's also the reason why we still haven't seen the audit we voted for and won last November. He's right. They blew the rainy day fund on the illegals. The catering of the meals, the 5-star hotels and motels, putting them all on Mass Health, the Section 8 housing later, loading up the EBT cards, the $2,000 prepaid debit cards. They spent billions and billions and billions on illegals. And now, when an elderly person or a single mom with a child or two, or a working father, the working poor, now their back's against the wall, here's $4 million for you. Blank you. Here, blank you. And that's why they're blocking the audit. 72% voted last year to audit the state legislature and all government spending. And you know why they're blocking it? Because they don't want the people of Massachusetts to know how much waste, fraud, and abuse, how much corruption, but in particular, 650 on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, it is not an overstatement to say, really, millions and millions of Americans are now bracing for what may happen tomorrow when their SNAP benefits, food stamps as they used to be called, will now be cut off due to the Schumer shutdown. The Democrats again voted for the 13th time not to reopen the government and to continue funding our government and, of course, SNAP benefits. And so now millions are going to wake up tomorrow morning, many of them hungry. It's the beginning of the month. Many of them have burned through their food stamps for the previous month, i.e. the month of October. What will happen? That is now the question. Janine in North Carolina. Thanks for holding, Janine, and welcome.
Jeff, I got to tell you, I am not a minister, but I'm going to be preaching to your audience today. I'm going to make a few quick points. One question: where was the outrage during the previous administration when they were handing out these EBT and cash cards to the illegal aliens? Number two, people on food stamps, and these women, they're complaining about how they don't have any food. Make your own snacks. Learn how to budget. And you can't try that stuff down here in South Carolina. Down in the South, they're not going to play with that, trying to steal food off of people. And then the next topic is Mondami in New York. Okay, I'm thinking like a Democrat because I was a former Democrat. If he gets in, just one question. He's going to say if it worked in Minnesota and in Michigan, it could work in New York. Will he appoint gays and transgenders into his cabinet? And that's all I have to say. And then the last topic is, can I give my phone number out off the air? Because I really like to talk to your New York audience. What say you, Jeff?
Okay, Janine, yeah, please just hang on when we're done and give Mike your number. And we will definitely have callers from New York give you a call. Janine, look, I think you're dead on. This was all planned by Obama under the Biden regime. Biden was his puppet. Obama was running the country. And it's clear now what their strategy was. Flood this nation with illegal aliens, in particular from the third world. And that's what's happening. And it was 21 million. That now is the number that they brought in 4 years. It's a staggering number. It's an unprecedented number. It was an invasion. And then strategically placed them in cities all around the country. And they really wanted to get New York. I mean, there's others as well, but they really wanted to get New York. And that's going to fuel Mamdani on Tuesday. There's no question. Native-born New Yorkers, people, I'm talking about people born in New York City, born and raised in New York City, they're going to vote for either Sliwa or most of them Cuomo. Now, they're liberals. I don't care for their politics, but they're not going to vote for communism. They're not going to vote for an Islamist communist. It's the foreign-born population, overwhelmingly, that are behind Mamdani and fueling the so-called Mamdani revolution. And this was done on purpose. And you're right. They gave them EBT cards. They gave them debit cards. They put them up in hotels and motels. Then they put them up on Section 8. And now we're finding out that they put so many of them on food stamps. And to bring it back to the discussion, you know, we spend now as a country 8 billion, 7.8 if you want to be accurate. I'm just rounding up for simplicity. 8 billion a month, 100 billion a year on food stamps. Just on food stamps. That's more than double before Biden got into office. And if you take away the migrants, if you take away the illegals, if you take away the non-citizens, do you know that 70% of food stamps goes to those three groups? Only 30% actually goes to American citizens? They're bankrupting our welfare state. They're bankrupting our social programs, which is there to help fellow Americans in need. And so this is what the silver lining in this government shutdown is. Americans are waking up and saying, how much are we spending on food stamps? What? 43 million Americans? What? 43 million Americans are on food stamps? That's 1 out of every 8 people living in America? How did it get so big? What? It's mostly going to the Afghans that Biden brought in? Here, the Somalis now. This is a huge story. The Somalis, 42% of all Somali migrants brought in by Biden and Obama are on food stamps, but it gets worse. They're now saying that the food stamps have to be allowed to go to quote-unquote halal. Halal pantries, halal stores, i.e. Sharia-compliant food. Halal. Halal, if you want to look it up. And the Somalis now in places like Minneapolis are threatening to riot. They say, we're going to burn Minneapolis to the ground. You don't give us our food stamps on Saturday. We're burning this thing down. And don't just give us our food stamps. It has to be halal. We have to be able to use it to buy halal food. Halal? We got to pay for their halal? There's a bigger story than Mamdani, if you can believe this. And I'm going to get back to the food stamps. But since you raised the Janine, it's also happening in Minnesota. Because it's even more brazen. See, Minneapolis, St. Paul is not as big, not as consequential, not as prominent, not as influential as New York. I get it. It's not the financial capital of America. But that's really the future. because it's more brazen, it's more open, and it's more advanced. The Democrats are running a candidate. His name is Omar Fateh. Fateh. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. He's another Mamdani, except Mamdani came from Uganda, born there. This guy Fateh is from Somalia. He's under the tutelage of Ilhan Omar. Okay, some people did something. He is now on tape. On tape. He's running to be the next mayor. Everything that Mamdani is running on, he's running on. With one difference. And that's what Mamdani is doing in private. He's just doing it now in public. This guy Fateh. You can look it up. He went in front of a crowd of Somali migrants. And all of them are going to vote for him. And most of them are here illegally. Or they're non-citizens. But it doesn't matter. They're going to vote. By hook or by crook, they're going to vote. Speaking in Somali. Waving a Somali flag. He said, I want you to know, I am here to put the interests of Somalia and my fellow Muslim Somalis first. Minneapolis, St. Paul will fall under Sharia law. Allah willing, it will fall under Sharia law. In other words, just like London has fallen, Minneapolis now is going to fall. He didn't say it in English. He said it in some native language. Somalia is broken up into tribes. So they have different dialects. Okay, so it's one of these dialects that many of them speak. So it was in some kind of a Somali tribal dialect. But he's literally waving the Somali flag in his right hand. And he openly says, I am here to put Somalia and Somalis first. He's saying, I'm an agent of a foreign government. And my religion now is compelling me that we are here to conquer Minneapolis, which is in the heart of America. And these Somalis that Biden brought in by the millions, they're all on food stamps. And it's not enough that we feed them. And it's not enough that we house them. And it's not enough that we give them free medical care, because we're all paying for this. But it has to be halal. Now they're literally dictating their diet. And it's not cultural cuisine. I'm not talking like Mexican food or Cuban food. It's literally Sharia compliant food. And he's going to win. And the guy he's going to knock off is this guy called Frey, who was the pro-Black Lives Matter mayor during the George Floyd riots. So this guy is no longer radical enough for the Democrats. The pro-BLM white, liberal progressive, who literally, he bent the knee to Black Lives Matter and supported George Floyd and the George Floyd riots and turned Minneapolis like Cuomo, the way Cuomo destroyed New York. This guy destroyed Minneapolis. That's not enough. Cuomo's not radical enough. This guy Frey is not radical enough. So this has all been by design. So I'm telling you, this is the problem now, is that we have so many illegals that we're pouring into, we're allowed to invade our country. Now, they're on food stamps. 80% of them were put on Medicaid. Free health insurance. All of them were given cash assistance. All of them were given EBTs. All of them were allowed to send their kids to school for free. Now, here, you want horror stories? I'll give you horror stories, one after another. They roll over these food stamp benefits, these SNAP benefits. It's all on a card now. And they've given hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month. And they're given EBT cards, and they're given cash assistance. And the point is, they're rolling over the money. You don't spend it. You don't lose it. You just rolls over. Some of them have accounts worth thousands of dollars. And by the way, I see them all the time. They've got 2 carts of food. None of them speak a word of English. 2 carts of food, all paid for by either EBT or their SNAP benefits. And I'm talking lobster. I'm talking ribs. You got to see what they load that cart up with. Cold cuts, cheese. Obviously, they like to eat a lot of junk food. But I mean, it's got fruits, vegetables, bread, cream cheese, bagels, you name it, man. They're loading that thing. It's 2 cartfuls of food. And they're all supposed to be poor. And then I see them go into a brand new car or a brand new SUV. So while Americans are struggling to pay groceries, struggling to pay rent, struggling to pay their bills, struggling to pay their freaking health insurance, they've been getting it all for free. And now the Democrats have shut the government down to give them permanent free health care. Are you freaking kidding me? And now tomorrow, our senior citizens, our working poor, wonderful single women who are struggling very hard to raise their children. You know how hard it is to be a full-time mother and to work a job or two? Who listen to this show and are big fans of this show? And now they're going to get their food stamps cut off tomorrow? It's disgusting. And I got to be careful because I'm going to say something very nasty. So let me clean it up a little bit. That bee in the governor's office, Healy, that monster, that witch, is saying, here's $4 million. Like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. Here's some crumbs off the table. Here. Go to your food bank. Here. Get a box of macaroni and cheese. Here. Don't say I never did anything for you. While they're sitting allegedly on an $8 billion rainy day fund? Right. Because I know they drained the fund. It's all gone. They gave it to the illegals. And now they want to tax us more. Thousands of dollars more. I'm sorry. No, this is the line in the sand. No, the answer is no. No, the answer is no. No more food stamps. Illegals should not be getting food stamps. Food stamps are for American citizens alone, period. And the same thing for Section 8, and the same thing for, you name it, I don't care. Medicaid or Mass Health, or whatever your entitlement program is, that is to help low-income, poor Americans. Since when did we become the Salvation Army for the entire world? We're not running a charity. We're running a country, for God's sake. You turn a country into a charity, you know what happens? The whole thing goes broke. And then what? You think the world is going to thank us and say, no, hey, we're going to pick you up again because you took in so many of our migrants and refugees. No. They'll say, blank you. Okay. Use them up. Fine. Next. Move on to the next host. 617-266-6868. The hypocrisy in this state, the hypocrisy of the media in this state, how they are such pathetic shills for Healy, the weakness of the Republican Party. Amy Carnevale is a loser. The chair of the Mass GOP. The Republican establishment in this state are a bunch of losers. With the way Healy is mismanaging this state and robbing the taxpayers blind and screwing us, fleecing us on behalf of illegals, and you guys can't mount a serious, effective challenge? Mickey Mouse could run a candidate and beat her. And that's the problem. Because the Republican establishment and their media allies, and I'm calling you out, Boston Herald, and I'm calling you out, you know the class clown that I'm referring to. If they weren't on the take, paid opposition, paid to lose, and always lose, the Democrats would have lost a long time ago. They are paid to divide the Republicans, to divide conservatives, and to not put up any real opposition. And that's why I'm telling you, they're going to try to throw the race against Healy again. Of course, as they line their pockets, because that's always the key. You mean to tell me Americans tomorrow in this state are going to go hungry, and the governor stands there and says, yeah, I'm going to give you $4 million. We have $8 billion in theory, but I'm only going to give you $4 million. And they're all Democrats. They're all Democrats in every other state in the area is saying, no, we're going to dip into the rainy day fund. No, we're not going to let our citizens go hungry. We live in the most expensive state in the union. Nowhere are taxpayers abused and milked and exploited like in this state. And you guys can't run a serious, effective challenge? Because you're so freaking corrupt, just like the Democrats? It's beyond disgraceful. It's beyond disgusting. 617-266-6868. George in Rowley. Thanks for holding, George, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi,
So
George.
I was listening this morning, like I always do, and I came up with a kind of out of the box idea. It's a humane two-part solution. Part A would be FEMA. Part B would be the National Guard. Part A, make a deal with our favorite food store in Mass, Market Basket, because they have the infrastructure. Tap into FEMA and reimburse them. Give food to people like Kuhner Country that can produce an inactive EBT card because of the shutdown, but they have to have real U.S. ID, like a passport, birth certificate, something. All right, they get their food. Part B, the illegals who can't produce this proof, you don't want them to go starving. So you call in the National Guard. They won't let them call the National Guard in for anything else that's important. But you call in the National Guard, you get FEMA to give them all the food. They pass out real food, not junk. No one starves. They always find the money to do this for Palestine and everywhere else in the world. Well, this is time to do it here. Are you there?
I'm listening to every word. George, and once the National Guard feeds the illegals, what do they do with them?
Well, they got to feed them until they open the government.
No, I get it.
I
And
mean,
then let's say, because the government is going to reopen, right, George? I mean, this can't go on forever. So so once it reopens, then what? Do we deport the illegals?
Well, go through the same process we've been doing with ICE and everything. Yeah,
I know, George. I agree with you. I think it's a very, very interesting and creative suggestion. What I'm just saying is this: it's like the illegals are, to put it bluntly, they're leeches, they're parasites, and they're gonna bleed us white. They're gonna suck us dry. 1.1 million in this state are on food stamps. That's an unbelievable number. I honestly didn't think it was this high. Everybody's shocked. And then you find out 600,000 of them are illegals. So get rid of the illegals. And now suddenly it's not 1.1 million. It's basically 500,000. Well, 500,000 on food stamps is very different than 1.1 million. So what I'm saying is we're going to go bankrupt. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I'm getting literally flooded, swamped text messages. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. My inbox emails are pouring in. I'm getting a lot of stuff on Messenger. Many of you are making very similar points, and I think you're all correct. Really, again, best audience in the business. This is from 617. Jeff, perhaps this explains why Healy and the Democrats are preventing the audit from being done. Diana DiZoglio, the state auditor, has been very quiet lately. I often wonder if she's been threatened. And it surprises me that she remains a Democrat after seeing up close how they operate. Just so that everybody knows, Diane DiZoglio, by the way, from all accounts, from everything I've heard, smart woman, bright woman, a woman with some integrity. She is the state auditor. She was empowered in that vote. It was a ballot initiative that passed with over 72%. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. It was a very strong supermajority that basically said we should have our own Doge. That we want an open, transparent audit by the state auditor, Diana DiZoglio, to go through all of the spending. Much of it is off the books, or they keep it hidden, or they keep it under wraps, opaque, as they say, behind in the shadows, so you don't know what where the money's going. And the voters said, no, we want to see where is the money going. Audit everything and let it be public. And Diane DiZoglio has been complaining now, and she is a Democrat, saying, I'm being stonewalled at every turn. I'm being obstructed at every turn. Healy's obstructing her. The state attorney general, Andrea Campbell, to her she's a disgrace. She's supposed to uphold the law and the will of the people. She's obstructing DiZoglio. This audit. The state Senate is obstructing it. The House Speaker on Beacon Hill is obstructing it. So they literally are defying democracy as they rail about Trump. He's the existential threat to democracy. But they don't want to open up the books. And they're openly defying the will of the people and defying a ballot initiative passed 72% of the voters. Let me read one more. This is from 781. Jeff, good morning. Well, good morning for you. Good morning to you. Jeff, this is another reason why the Democrats in the state do not want our state auditor, Diana DiZoglio, to audit them because they're afraid she's going to find out how much money the state has spent on illegals and make it public. Bingo. And once it comes out, people will never vote for the Democrats again. The corruption of one-party rule will be exposed. And I'm telling you, the whole democratic regime in this state will collapse like a house of cards. People are going to be sickened and outraged. And remember, 72% of the voters voted for the audit. And even our own Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, is blocking the audit. The governor blocking the audit. Everybody's blocking the audit. Well, now you know why. People are literally going to go hungry tomorrow. And she can't tap into the rainy day fund. Because I'm telling you, they've depleted, they've drained the rainy day fund. It's gone. They gave it all away to the illegals. And God knows who else and what. There's a lot of money being stolen as well. There's a lot of kickbacks, a lot of corruption, no bid contracts to friends, donors, contributors. So what I'm saying is they have blown through that money. And now when we need it, blank you're on your own. Lou in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. They don't
Hi,
like
Lou.
democracy when it bites them in the rear end, do they? There's the defenders of democracy, 72% of the vote. I can't believe it. That is real democracy, and they don't. And they're the defenders of democracy. Well, they're such hypocrites, these Democrats. A couple of things before I get to my point. This thing you said about Minneapolis and even New York. You know what it does is it gives the Muslim Brotherhood in Qatar access to our major cities. And you look at what happened in London and in Manchester and London and the grooming gangs. They don't cover up for crimes that are committed by these Islamic radicals. There's some danger there with that stuff, and the wokes go along with it. The woke Jihad Alliance, they just go along with all that crap and cover it up. So that's one thing about the dangers of those cities that you're talking about. And the other thing is that it's sort of funny, is that Schumer is so afraid of AOC. But AOC has had this thing going on for a while with Riley Gaines. And Riley Gaines in the Twitter war has been eating her lunch. And Schumer's afraid of that. She's such a nothing burger, that AOC, and he's afraid of her, and he won't pass this bill. And now I'll get to the bill. If that health care stuff with the Obamacare, and to keep that, was so important, then it could stand on its own as an issue coming up in January. So they want to just try to sneak all this extra spending, $1.5 trillion in. That includes $500 million for NPR, and in public TV. This thing is a piece of crap that they want to add to this bill, and they got to be called out on this stuff. And as far as the filibuster is concerned, don't get rid of the filibuster, because if they had gotten rid of the filibuster under Biden, Trump wouldn't be president now, because they would have passed no voter ID across the whole country, and a fast track.
Oh, you nailed it. No, Lou, you nailed it. That's. I mean, to be fair, that's the one. Very few times am I disagree with Trump. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, we are now less than 24 hours away from food stamps, SNAP benefits, as they're now called, being completely cut off for 43 million Americans. Now, in some states, as I mentioned, especially in New England, New York State as well, state governments are going to fill the gap, at least for the first 10 to 15 days, by tapping into their contingency or rainy day funds. Not Massachusetts. And in most states around the country, they will not be tapping into any kind of a rainy day or contingency fund. Now, Trump is worried, not just Trump, to be fair, Republicans, Democrats, privately, are worried that you could see looting at grocery stores, people fighting, beating up, clerks or grocery store employees as they steal food and then are confronted. Police are going to be sent to many grocery stores and supermarkets tomorrow around the entire country to try to prevent acts of violence, vandalism, thievery. Also, please be careful when you're in the parking lot. If you have a cart full of groceries or you're carrying a couple bags of groceries, many on TikTok, millions actually, over the last even 12 hours, are now vowing that they will just rip grocery bags out of people's arms. So I'm not saying don't go. If you have to get grocery, you need to get groceries. But be very, very vigilant. Be alert. Look both ways. And look, I always do the grocery shopping on Saturdays. I'm going to be very fast. I mean, not when I'm going through the aisles. But I mean, when I check out and then I'm on my way, to the parking lot to unload my groceries into my car, I'm going to be quick. I'm going to look left, right, look around me. Just, the quicker I get to the car, the better, So anyway, all I'm saying is please be vigilant. Okay. A lot of great messages pouring in. Listen to this. This is from Sherry on Messenger. Jeff, what about all the tattoos and the fake nail businesses on many of the recipients who are getting food stamps? Tattoos are expensive. That is a great point. That is such a good point. I noticed so many of them. EBT cards, SNAP, whatever, food stamps. And I'm like, those are very nice nails. Or look at those tattoos. Those are really well done. That's not cheap. The nails aren't cheap. The hair, the grooming, especially some of the women. I'm like, that's $100 job. Easy. That's some nice grooming there. Nice hair, nice tattoos, nice nails. They're scamming the system. I'm looking, I'm like, no, you're scamming the system. You're definitely scamming the system. Okay, Marianne in Florida makes a really outstanding point. And you now really clearly see it. When you see all these people threatening, it's already happening, fights are breaking out. At Market Basket here in Massachusetts, they started to steal food, already anticipating for tomorrow, and people are getting beaten up and assaulted, grocery store employees. Jeff, food for thought. When you give the government the power to feed you, you give the government the power to starve you. Let me repeat it. This is very profound and very true. When you give the government the power to feed you, you give the government the power to starve you. And that's what we're seeing right now. And the most sickening thing of all, the Democrats are calling this, quote unquote, leverage. I know I played the cuts on Wednesday. Let me just play them again. This is Democrat Senator Chris Coons on C-SPAN, the Democrat from Delaware, literally saying the quiet part out loud. Roll cut 26, Mike.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage, and although a very unpleasant tool to use.
Now he's talking literally about denying food stamps, SNAP. So it's our only leverage. It's an unpleasant tool. It's the only unpleasant tool we have. So you mean having your people go hungry? Having your country go hungry? By the way, many of them literally your voters? Having them go hungry? And you view them as what? A bargaining chip? They're human beings. It's no joke to, by the way, Chris Coons looks like he hasn't missed a meal. Let me tell you this. You go hungry. You see what it's like. I want to play one more. This one should haunt her to her grave. This is the number 2 for the Democratic Party in the House, right underneath Hakeem Jeffries. Massachusetts' own, and she really is a moonbat. I mean, she's a hardcore moonbat. Catherine Clark. This is now, she admits, yes, we want families to suffer. That's what the shutdown causes, suffering. And the more they suffer, the more we can use it as bargaining leverage. Roll cut 27, a mic.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Okay. Since when do human beings suddenly become leverage? Since when does starving your own people or making your own people go hungry, that's leverage? I mean, that's sick. It's disgusting. And so I want to ask the audience, are there any of you that are poised to lose your SNAP benefits tomorrow or your food stamps? I want to hear from you. Are you concerned? Are you worried? Do you have a plan B? Do you fear? Will you go hungry? How are you going to deal with this? I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Eric. One more, and then I want to go to the phone lines. This is the perfect analogy. It's a brilliant analogy. Jeff, if Massachusetts was a ship like the Titanic, which it is, the people who legitimately really need financial support are watching from the deck of a sinking ship as the illegals are fully loaded into the lifeboats. The iceberg is Maura Healey and all the Democrats that laugh from the shores of safety. They're dead on, absolutely dead on. And then Eric continues, and he's also dead on. Jeff, the state audit will never happen as long as Governor Frankenstein, i.e. Healy, and her little Igors are in power. Good luck with that. As long as Healy has power, sitting in her castle on Beacon Hill, she fears nothing as long as they can continue to control the voting results. And I would just add one other thing. Continue to control the Republican Party and what passes for the conservative Republican media in this state. As long as they continue to control the Massachusetts GOP, the Massachusetts State GOP Committee, and the Boston Herald, and the cronies who work for them. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Jeff, this is democracy in Massachusetts, where more than 70% of the voters voted for a state audit. The state auditor, Mr. Zaglio, wants an audit, and the governor and the attorney general are fighting tooth and nail. I have a message for the auditor. If you have any suspicions that federal money was being used or misspent in this audit, please contact the federal government for assistance. Jeff, listening to Maura Healey yesterday turned my stomach. Everything is blame Donald Trump. But those that are smart enough, people that listen to you and people like you, know that that continuing resolution was turned down by the Democrats, I believe, more than a dozen times. This is a Democrat issue. They are the ones holding this up. That's what the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts need to know. They need to realize that more than $1 billion of your tax dollars went to the housing of illegal aliens, not counting the millions that were spent on food and other things for these illegals. They have to realize those in Massachusetts, more than 1.5 million people who use natural gas to heat their homes, need to remember there are only a few short years ago, Maura Healey stood up and proudly announced, I stopped 2 gas lines from coming into Massachusetts, all to meet her environmental agenda. Jeff, the people of Massachusetts need to wake up and realize that these Democrats up at the State House, the governors and the mayors of these major cities in Massachusetts are doing harm to them. They need to realize that it is costing them more money to rent, more money to lease, all at a time where Maura Healey, I say again, is pushing for this environmental agenda, which you know I have been against, this Mass Save program, which should have been under federal investigation a long time ago, where they are telling people who are rent and leasing, you could take advantage of getting a heat pump, you can take advantage of getting a new heating system when they cannot. They are being pumped into this system. Now, it was been quietly done a few months ago with 2 of the 3 members of the Public Utility Commission, approved by Governor Maura Healey, resigned. There's going to be another issue this year, I believe, on the electric and the gas rates. That's all they need to remember. Those 2 things, the billions that they spent on illegals, yet she won't go into that fund and that rainy day fund to help her own people out in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's all you need to know. And I think you hit the target here, Jeff. I think she used a lot more money than she says she spent, and she does not want an audit. You mentioned one thing about people wanting halal food. The Muslims wanting halal food. Okay, what's going to be next? The reports are out. The majority of self-hating Jews in New York in this upcoming mayoral election are going to be voting for Mandami. What are they going to be looking for? Kosher food? Hey, myself, Jeff, my preference is Italian. But hey, they're opening up a can of worms here. But there needs to be investigations by the federal government on the programs, the failure of the state to recognize the will of the people and auditing what is going on in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Because Maura Healey is going to bury this. And next week are the primaries. You know, I'm not voting for Healey. I'm voting for a veteran. I'm voting for a former businessman, Mike Minogue. And I cannot see, if you want to burn this state down, we were once known as Taxachusetts. If you want to truly burn this state down, re-elect Maura Healey. That's all I have to say, Jeff.
Oh, amen. CJ, I couldn't have said it better myself. And I want to thank you again for that call. A really, really good call as always. No, look, there's no question. Okay, there's no question. The way they're openly boasting about using, fellow citizens as leverage. This is what citizens that have been thrown out on the streets, who don't, they've lost their jobs, they can't get paid. Now they're not going to get food stamps. Here, I just want to read to you a text message. I think it really hits the nail on the head. This is from 917. Jeff, what's really vulgar is the so-called leverage that these Democrats are boasting about. The money they want to spend and waste on all of these Democrat programs is truly disgusting. And they're letting people starve. Not just people, Americans. To me, that's where they've really now crossed the line, where they've really exposed themselves. And, other people are making the very good point. It's an excellent point, Jeff. You know who uses human beings as quote-unquote leverage? Terrorists. Right, when they take a hostage. When terrorists seize hostage. When Hamas, just to use the obvious example, when Hamas took all of those Israeli citizens hostages, what were they using them for? Quote-unquote leverage in negotiations with the Israeli government. And so, literally, they're saying, we're using, your suffering is our leverage. I mean, it's disgusting. It's immoral. It makes us look like a third world banana republic, but more than that, look, honest to God, really, like I'm in the confessional, I don't want to see any American go hungry. I don't care who you vote for. Honest to God, Bill in Sudbury, I mean that. I don't want Bill in Sudbury to go hungry. I don't. And I got to be honest with you, and I really shouldn't say this, because you should defend yourself. You're right to defend yourself. I'm all for self-defense. Please don't get me wrong. But, tomorrow, if I see someone is genuinely hungry, like I can see real terror or fear, and, and they're panicking because of the media and everything, and they're like, I have no SNAP benefits, I just may give him I'm telling you, here, take my grocery bag. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I'm not saying that you should. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just trying to tell you honestly. I had that conversation with Grace last night. I said, there's a lot of people reaching out to me on email. I want to help them. It breaks my heart. And Grace said, look, Jeff, you got to be careful. There are legal implications. iHeart may get involved. There's all kinds of things. So maybe do it through a food bank, where you give money to a food bank and you encourage everybody to give assistance to a food bank, and then have Kuhner Country say, tell Kuhner Country listeners, hey, if you need food, go to this specific food bank. So I'm looking into this. I want to help. I want to do it the right way. But, honestly, if I see a mother and I can see it's not a scam, and she's not some thug or a criminal, but really, like, please, 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 I'm like, I can't, as a Christian, as a Catholic, I can't. Here, what do you need? Take the bag. What do you need? Honestly, I shouldn't even say this, but I said to Grace, I may even go inside the grocery store and please just load up your cart. I'll pay for it. Just go, please. I'll wait for you. Take 10, 15 minutes, please. I can't. I can't watch my fellow Americans starve. I can't. I'm just being honest with you. Now, I'm not saying don't defend yourself. I'm not saying don't protect yourself, because some of them, they're being attacked. Some of them don't have good intentions, and some of them are scamming the system. So again, I'm just, you shouldn't, I'm bearing my soul to you, but I'm just like, my point being, you sit around and say, yeah, we're going to make them suffer. It's leverage. How do you sleep at night? And, I don't know, if this was like preventing World War III, where you say, well, no, if we don't block them, Jeff, we're going to go to nuclear war with Russia or China or whatever. I'd say, well, okay. But what's the hill you're dying on? What are you fighting over? What have you shut the government down over? Freaking Obamacare? Which has been a disaster? What? Free health care? Hundreds of billions of dollars free health care? For illegals? By the way, you know what their other non-negotiables are? I swear to you. Foreign aid for circumcisions in Zambia. Hakeem Jeffries told Mike Johnson, that's a non-negotiable. Put it back in. Money for NPR. Put it back in. Gay rights in Lithuania. Put it back in. So you're going to make people starve over freaking circumcisions in Zambia? You're sick. You're sick. Okay, 8 o'clock. You know what that means. Caller of the week, Kuhner's call log.
It's time for Kuhner's call log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thanks for holding, Jerry.
Jeff, what I would like to know is, where are all these congressmen and senators allocating the funds within the budget to build that super center out in Utah and that encryption center down in Texas to spy on everyday Americans? They have all of our telecommunications records. They have no right to any of that. Not that I've done anything wrong, or not that you've done, or this audience has done anything wrong. They have no right to any of that. They spied on us. Do you think they got court orders to spy on us? No. They bypassed everything. They spied on the telecommunications companies and extracted all the information from them without them even knowing it. So where was the court order there, Jeff? They'll have their hearings and everything, but nobody will go to jail. The swamp's after all of us, Jeff, and that's what everybody's afraid of. They want to keep the status quo. In other words, Ted Cruz still wants to be a senator, so you're going to hear bluster out of him, of course, but I don't think it's going to be much ado about nothing. I don't think anyone's going to jail.
And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's call log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. Congratulations to Comrade Jerry, longtime listener, longtime caller, and Jerry, you're dead on. They weren't worrying about subpoenas and court orders when they were spying on us. That I can guarantee you. Okay, 617-266-6868 is the number. We are less than 24 hours now from all food stamps across the country, SNAP benefits from the federal government being completely and utterly cut off. Some states are going to fill the gap with their own rainy day funds, not here in Massachusetts. And so the question I have for this audience, this incredible audience, are any of you on food stamps, SNAP? Will you be losing those benefits tomorrow? And how do you plan to cope? How do you plan to weather now the loss of benefits? And do you fear that you and your family are going to go hungry? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from 508 because it answers the question, why? Why are the Democrats determined to keep this shutdown going? It's been over 30 days now. Even if it means people will go hungry tomorrow. And they're deliberately keeping the government shut down, knowing that millions and millions are going to lose access to food and to food stamps. And this is what 508 says, and I think 508 is dead on. Democrats are hoping for the optics of crying mothers and starving babies in the news. And you know the local media will run with them to reinforce the Democrats' plan, hoping that all of the pictures of suffering will be blamed on Trump and not the Democrats. Jeff, this is diabolical. And shame on the local media for supporting this crap. This isn't news. This is propaganda. You better believe it, it's propaganda. And I think you nailed it, 508. That's what they want. They want to see mothers. They want to see babies starving. They want to see mothers crying, saying, I'm hungry. My kids are hungry. You see these little children saying, my stomach hurts. I can't eat. There's no food. And hoping that that's going to turn public opinion against Trump and force the Republicans to back down and capitulate. You don't get more disgusting than this. All with the full complicity of the media. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Andrea in Rockport. Thanks for holding, Andrea, and welcome.
Jeff, they have to end the filibuster. Trump has to come out and make an emergency appearance, plan it ahead of time, say this is an emergency appearance. We're in an emergency in our country because the Democrats are holding people from getting food. He has to turn the tables on the Democrats, make it all their fault, and end the filibuster, tell them that he's encouraging the Republicans to end the filibuster. I know you were saying, and then the Democrats will do all this stuff without anything, pack the Supreme Court. I'll tell you this, Jeff, when they get in, they're not going to follow any rules. There'll be tons of executive orders. They'll get rid of the filibuster the first day. Trump was right. They're going to do what they're going to do, and we've got to do something. And I think he could do this so that he looks like a hero.
Oh, interesting. I didn't look at it that way. So, Andrea, you're saying, look, the Democrats are going to do, just look at the Biden administration. You're saying they're going to do what they want to do no matter what. They're going to break every law. They're going to abuse every power. And they'll nuke the filibuster. So, in other words, now we're in an arms race, like a political arms race. So, if we're going to do it, let our side do it, and then turn all of this on the Democrats, correct?
Yes, definitely. Look what they did the last 4 years, Jeff. We almost lost the country. That's why people are hurting now with the food and the rent. I know young people, they can't afford their own homes. They're moving in with their parents. It's really sad. You like to see the young people do well. And it's just, I don't know, it's just so sad. And it's because of the Democrats. And he's got to get out there and blame it all on them and mention those newsreels that you were mentioning, how they said that we have to use this leverage, et cetera. Play it. Have him turn it on them and let them look like the ones that are really cruel, because they are the ones that are cruel.
Andrea, thank you. Very interesting call. Thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me throw this on the table then. Put that log on the fire. Should they end the filibuster? Should they invoke the nuclear option and say, to hell with it, we're going to reopen the government. We're not going to let Americans starve. Period, full stop. And turn it completely on the Democrats. You are going to let Americans starve. We won't. Agree, disagree. That's what Trump is now calling for. Many Republicans don't want to do it because they believe the filibuster is the last check and balance. And they fear that if the Democrats come back to power, then they'll just need 50 plus 1, and they can literally impose communism on the country. And that's why they're very reluctant to go nuclear, as they say, to end the filibuster, meaning you need 60 votes to get anything passed in the Senate. 617-266-6868. Tim in Malden. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi, Tim.
Good morning. Hi. I'm on food stamps. I'm 58 years old and I'm disabled. And I lose my food stamps tomorrow. So after this, I don't know what's going to happen with me.
Tim, if I'm getting too personal, please tell me. Do you have any food? Do you have any extra money in your SNAP card? Do you have any savings? In other words, if you don't get your SNAP benefits tomorrow, are you going to go hungry, or do you have a bit of a reserve?
a little bit of a reserved. I was smart enough to put some food away. But as far as getting through November, after this, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to make it through November because I don't get that much money being disabled. And with food stamps, I barely made enough to survive as it was.
What's your plan B, Tim?
I don't have one.
Are there any food banks? Have you reached out to food pantries, food banks?
A box from Bread of Life once a month, and I'm going to be looking into more as November gets more into November.
Tim, you have to. You've got to start calling these food banks, food pantries. You need to let them know of your situation. I take it it's hard for you to move around because you're a disability, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you have to tell them they need to come to your home or your apartment, wherever you live, and deliver you food. That has to happen. Tim,
I agree.
I want you to do me a favor. Before you get off the phone, I have to go to break. I want you to give Mike your number. I can't promise anything, but I want you to give him your number. And I'm going to see what I can do to get food banks, food pantries, or maybe Kuhner Country listeners. If this thing goes on for more than a couple days and you start running out of food, I want to do everything I can to try to help you. So please, Tim, hang on. And please, Tim, if you need help, ask for it. Call food banks, call food pantries, call back into this show. I don't want you to go hungry. And please take care of yourself. Will you do that for me, Tim?
I will. You too.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Tim, you hang on. Mike, please take his number. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you just heard Tim, 58 years old. He's got disabilities. He relies on food stamps. He gets some disability aid. Can't work, obviously, because of his disability. He's going to start going hungry potentially in the next couple of days. He's got a reserve, 3-4 days. After that, as November grinds on, he's going to rely more and more on food pantries, food banks. Okay, this rarely happens. Usually, Grace obviously listens to the show, my wonderful wife, and she'll always give me feedback after the show. She doesn't usually text in, while I'm on the air. However, this issue, we're talking about Americans now potentially going hungry, and a food stamp, a food crisis may be erupting tomorrow. She's very engaged, and she's now. Here's what she wrote to me on my phone, private text. She sent me the story about Trump. This was yesterday, demanding that the Republicans now in the Senate use the so-called nuclear option to end the Democrat filibuster, end the filibuster period, and end the shutdown. Because it's just gone on way too long, number one. And number two, he's not going to stand by and allow American citizens to go hungry. And so Grace said, Jeff, Trump is calling for an end to the shutdown, an end to the filibuster, just smash right through it. And honestly, I'm starting to lean in that direction. So, and, Grace historically has been a big supporter of checks and balances, a big supporter of the filibuster as a way to check an out-of-control Democratic Party. But she's starting to say, I think Trump may be right on this, that we may have to smash that filibuster. So, interesting. Very interesting. 617-266-6868. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Yes, Jeff, thanks for taking the call. If you're for democracy and mob rule, then you want to get rid of the filibuster. It's crazy. That's crazy to even think that and suggest that. Okay? And on top of it, okay, the dirty, the whole point here is, Jeff, is we need to help each other. We need to get back to helping each other. People are throwing. You got to look up and do your research. We're sitting on a $37 trillion, well over $37 trillion debt, enslaving Americans at $1 trillion in interest. Okay, but paying to the dirty, corrupt central banking cartel. I mean, and it's a uniparty charade right now, okay, between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're both responsible for the shutdown, period, okay? A clean CR which is a continued resolution, is not a solution. It's a continuation of the problem of overspending without a balanced budget. We've been kicking this can down the road for 48 years. It's insanity. We've had well over 40 continued resolutions, over and 8 omnibus spending bills. They've buried well over 1,200 unauthorized programs, violating our constitutional rights and freedoms of Americans. People got to wake up. Do your research. Don't call in and talk about stuff that you don't know what you're talking about. You're violating the law, Jeff. Okay? We send elected representatives to U.S. Congress and Senate, and they're passing TRs, omnibus bills, okay? And they're violating the law called the Congressional Budget Act of 1974. It's a federal law that says elected representatives we send to Congress are required to set a balanced budget, nestled within that balanced budget, enact 12 single-subject appropriation spending bills, 12 of them. There's only 12, okay? Funding 12 various agencies.
Oh, no, you're dead on. No, Dan, you're dead on. Look, you're right. And that's one of the things that the Republicans vowed that they would restore, right? That they said we would do these separate appropriations bills. You're right. Dan, I think it's a little bit more than 12. I think it's 13, maybe 14. But anyway, let's just go with 12. But the point is, you're right. The only point about the CR, and I'm with you, it's this is what I find unbelievable. The continued resolution literally is funding the government at Biden levels. This is spending levels that Biden and the Democrats agreed to. Like, there's no cut here. What cut? And that's not enough for the Democrats? So the only thing is this, Dan, is look, you've got people now. It's how do I say this? Biden murdered the country. His inflation wrecked the economy. It drove prices through the roof. You know this better than anybody. And you've got a lot of Americans now who literally cannot make ends meet. They're doing everything right. They work very hard. They pay their bills. They pay their rent. They go out, they buy their groceries. They buy their gas, and life has become so expensive for them because of what Biden and the Democrats did that they need the food stamps. Now, I agree with you. In theory, we should be helping each other. You're right. In theory, as one of the, I thought listeners very well put it, the government that feeds you is the government that can starve you. That's why you never give the government that kind of power. So I'm with you all the way. But the point is, we are where we are now. We have to be practical. You cut off all the food stamps, people are going to go hungry. Like, it's just a fact. And it's nice to say people should be helping people, but a lot of Democrats don't help people. They don't. And I just got one email in the last 5 minutes. It's heartbreaking. She's 73 years old. She's an elderly woman, little income, Social Security. Her husband died 7 years ago, and she's got no children. She had one, but her child passed away when she was much younger. So she's literally living by herself. She says, I'm afraid. I need the food stamps. I rely on the food stamps. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing and Windows. Do you believe Democrats are deliberately making the SNAP crisis worse in an attempt to smear President Trump and the Republican Party? Let me repeat that. Do you believe Democrats are deliberately making the SNAP crisis worse the food stamp crisis, in an attempt to smear or damage President Trump and the Republican Party? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. And of course, you can vote via X. And again, I was really hammering Healy last night on X. So anyway, please, if you're not following me, follow me on X. You can also vote on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner. Okay, this is a phenomenal text from 603. Jeff, as this Democrat-created food crisis unfolds, you know as well as I that there will be individuals out there, especially in the inner cities, that will simply use this as an excuse to rob, loot, and pillage, just like we saw during the so-called Summer of Love with the Black Lives Matter riots in 2020. It just became an opportune time to add to the mayhem and grab whatever they could. Get it while the getting's good. You can find scores of videos online right now, and this is true, I've seen them, right now, of inner city flash mobs raiding Walmarts, liquor stores, pharmacies, etc. What do you think is going to happen when there's an actual food crisis beginning tomorrow? How much worse will scenes like this be when there actually is a crisis to give it cover? Yeah, I'm stealing this flat screen television because, well, I got to feed my family. Just you watch, my friend. Times like these can bring out the best in good people and the worst in others, including our Democrat politicians. Well, that's my fear, and I think that's what a lot of people's fear is that there's going to be some, how do I say this, legitimate looting. I don't mean that looting is ever legitimate, but what I mean is people are going to be, some people I think will be hungry or begin to feel hungry, and they have no money, they have no SNAP, they have no food stamps, and the fridge is bare, and the cupboards are bare. So I think you will see some people saying, I got to feed myself or my family, and start stealing food from the shelves. And that's going to lead to a massive confrontation with grocery store employees. But I think what you're also going to see is looting for the sake of looting. In other words, we're hungry and I'm going to steal video games. Or I'm going to steal, as the texter put it, flat screen televisions. Or we're going to go to Walmart and just steal everything. Cologne, whatever, I don't care. Mouthwash, I mean, just whatever we can get our hands on. We'll just steal and steal and steal and steal. Red Bulls and sodas and shaving, razors and shaving cream and underarm deodorant, and just load it all and just walk out of there. So that's why what Maura Healey in particular is doing is so reckless. It's so dangerous. It's so irresponsible. But more broadly, what the Democrats are doing is beyond reckless and irresponsible. It's disgusting. And look, let me just add very quickly. This is a very important point that's being missed. Look, I understand you've got an empty stomach. Your stomach is rumbling. You have an empty belly. It's one of the worst feelings. It's one of the worst things that could ever happen to a human being, to genuinely be hungry and to start to starve. But we got another big issue. We have air traffic controllers who control the skies, planes, that, like it or not, our country and frankly the world relies on. Air traffic is air traffic. I mean, that's just that's how the world functions. And you have air traffic controllers who have not been paid in weeks. And so, to feed their families, many of them have been forced to take a second job. Whether it's being an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, whatever it is, DoorDash, whatever. And they're openly saying, to begin with, being an air traffic controller, long hours, very stressful job. But you start adding now the need to do a second job and on very little sleep. They're warning again and again. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy a few days ago, rightly, was fuming, rightly. I mean, you want to talk about popping a cork. He said, I'm telling you, there's going to be a major accident. A plane is going to crash. There's going to be a mid-air collision. Like, someone is going to die. Because these air traffic controllers are exhausted. They're stressed out of their mind. They're on very little sleep. End the shutdown now. Enough is enough. Or at a bare minimum, at least do what the Republicans offered, which is, fine, you Democrats want to keep the government shut down, but at least pay the air traffic controllers. And so they had a vote. No, Democrats voted against it. So what I'm saying is, yes, this big deadline tomorrow, actually tonight, what is it, midnight, 12:01, tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Okay, at midnight tonight, past 1 minute, 1 second. And then boom, all the SNAP benefits get cut off. Yes, big story, huge story. Man, to me, you don't play with air traffic controllers. What do you want? Hundreds of people killed in a fiery plane crash? I mean, they're playing Russian roulette, but not with their lives, with our lives. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Mags in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mags, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, and as usual and as always, thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate you, and you know that.
My pleasure, Max.
Hey, you know, the last caller, Dan and Andrea, the one I think right before that, you know, I loved Andrea's idea, and I am 100% with Dan. And I want you to get my number, and I'll be more than happy to help a few people. I just want you to know that, and I know there's many other people in Kuhner country that will be willing to do that. I do not want to see one illegal get any more money. Any more money. Anywhere. Any of our money. And my fear is that a clean CR would mean that we're still funding all of Biden's crap. I'm not interested in that. We voted Trump in to make changes and to get things done. And I realized that we were broken, that Biden broke us. He did. But you can only break a country if they're willing to be broken. And there's many of us that are not willing to be broken and want our country fixed. And that's why we voted Trump in. I feel really bad for the people that need WIC and SNAP. I know that you know that, and I know people in Kuhner country that know me and listen to me know that's true also. I have a big heart. But I'm sick and tired of supporting illegals and people in our country and criminal illegals on top of it. I want ICE doing their job, and I'm hoping that when SNAP and WIC get cut off on Saturday night, Friday night, whatever, tonight, that we are able to deport more people than ever, because either they'll leave because they have nothing to get anymore.
You know, Mags, you're absolutely dead on. Mags, please hang on, because I'm going to come right back to you. I just want to make a slight edit, correction, clarification, whatever you want to call it. WIC, which is the program to help low-income pregnant women or low-income women with children, has not been affected by the government shutdown. And the reason why is Trump specifically ordered the Republicans to scrounge around. There's like money, you know, you can find somewhere lying around and, you know, basically, scrape up enough cash, enough money to make sure that the WIC payments have been made. He's also done the same thing for paying the military, as well as asking for private donations. And so WIC has not been cut off, at least so far, and our military, thank the Lord, are still getting paid. So many of you may say, well, Jeff, why not food stamps? There's just not enough money. Food stamps is a massive program, partly because there are so many illegals on the program. That's why it's exploded in cost. So WIC is a much smaller program than SNAP, which is why they were able to somehow scrounge together the money. Now, in terms of what Mags was saying, we've got to get these illegals off of the dole. We got to deport them, no question. But man, they really are milking us dry. So I want you to listen to this, okay? This is an email from a very long time listener. Jeff, SNAP now burns over $100 billion a year. $8 billion every single month. Now here it comes. Listen to this. I did not know this. You just taught me something now. Recipients spend twice what the average of working American spends on groceries. Because they aren't spending their money, Jeff. They're spending yours, ours. I had no idea. They spend twice as much on groceries as the average working American? Anyway, the email continues, and this is so true. Jeff, this isn't quote-unquote helping the poor. This is rewarding dependency and subsidizing foreign populations who arrived to take, not to build. 43 million now. 43 million people are on food stamps. Now listen to this. 80% of SNAP users are also on Medicaid. 61% get 2 or more additional welfare programs. So they're not just getting SNAP, they're getting 2 more. Often it's free healthcare and EBT and usually Section 8 housing. And over 53% of migrants are on at least one welfare program. We're not talking even now the illegals. Those are the ones that Biden let in, like, for example, from Afghanistan. Listen to this. 45% of Afghans now in the United States are receiving free food from you, from us. Now, the person goes on to say that there are so many illegals now and migrants who are on SNAP, who are on food stamps, that 70% of all SNAP benefits, this whole system, Jeff, exists only because the foreign population is bankrolled. If all the benefits, and this goes to your point, Max, if the benefits were cut off, they would leave. Jeff, is this your American dream? Question mark. Because it's not mine. We need to stop subsidizing our own replacement. Stop feeding people who despise the hand that feeds them. End welfare for non-citizens. Bingo. Bingo. We're not just being replaced. Let's call it as it is. We are literally subsidizing our own replacement. That's what Joe Biden and Obama did. And I think this is what's shocking people is how many. Look, let me ask all of you, Mags, I promise I'm coming right back to you. How many of you knew that 43 million, 1 out of 8 people in America, are on food stamps? Honest to God, if you would have held a gun to my head and said, give me a number, Jeff, I would have said maybe 20. And I thought that maybe that could be high. But I go 15, 20 million, 43? Let me ask you one more. In a state of 7 million, would you ever have believed 1.1 million of our residents, obviously most of them illegals, but I'm just saying people who live in Massachusetts, 1.1 million are on food stamps? That's 1 in 7. This is unsustainable. Like, it's just, you can tell just the numbers, the sheer numbers. So, Mags, I got to ask you, in all honesty, did you ever suspect that the numbers were this high? Let's take Massachusetts. That 1.1 million, 1 out of 7 residents in Massachusetts are on food stamps. That 600,000 illegals are on food stamps. And that essentially now we've created such a massive welfare system. There's so much welfare fraud. We're broke. We're going broke. And now there's not enough when we need it to feed our own people. Mags, what say you?
I feel like I'm going to be sick right now, to be honest with you, Jeff. Okay? Because everything I just said is so true. So now, Trump, if you're listening, we need to stand strong. I'm sorry. We cannot cave. We need to change all of this. And if we don't stop now, how are we ever going to start changing this? These illegals cannot get any more money from us anymore. I mean, I'm shaking right now, Jeff. Those numbers are disgraceful. And the fact that Maura Healey paid all the money to all the illegals that have been in here in the state of Massachusetts is disgraceful. And she is a disgusting person. Okay. And anybody that's in government, when this government is closed down, they need to not be paid either. This has got to stop. We have got to make changes now. We cannot cave. This is the Democrats' problem. They've caused all of this, and now they got to help fix it. So we have got to get strong, America. And like Dan said, we need to help each other. Okay? I'm more than willing to help my neighbor. All right? And I'm not willing to pay illegals. I'm not willing to do this anymore. I worked too hard for this. This is not the America that I wanted. God bless you, Jeff. God bless Trump. God bless America. And let's stay strong and stick to our fight.
Amen. Amen. And God bless you, Mags, as always. You truly are. You're a great patriot. You are a great patriot. Mags, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. And look, I know I've made this point many times before, so forgive me if I'm beating a dead horse. But, you know, if they were grateful, I mean, again, you shouldn't give welfare to illegals, period. But, okay, if they were smiling ear to ear and they were grateful and they were waving the American flag and I love you and, I mean, I still would be against it, but you'd approach it with a bit of a different attitude. But it's exactly true what the emailer said. They literally bite the hand that feeds them. They're so ungrateful. They're entitled. They act entitled. Now, look, let me just say this. Do you know what people have no idea how much money we're talking about. It's just a number. You know, Stalin famously said this. You know, you kill one person, it's a tragedy. You kill 20 million, it's a statistic. And it's true. It's such a large number, your mind just can't comprehend it. You can't absorb it. Do you know what $8 billion in a rainy day fund? Do you know what $8 billion literally here? This is what it could happen. This is what it could do to Massachusetts. Pave every road, every highway, renovate every hospital, pay our teachers. They could have the highest salaries in the country. We could have the best police force, the highest paid, biggest police force, the most firefighters, the best paid nurses, the finest healthcare system. We'd have the finest schools. We could literally, practically end the opiate crisis. we could have rehab centers all over the state. What $8 billion would do, we could feed every veteran, every homeless person. I'm talking about American citizens. We could take care of every low-income American citizen. Literally, we could end poverty. We could end poverty in Massachusetts, again, for Americans. So, and with the finest roads, the finest police, the finest teachers, the finest nurses, the finest healthcare, the finest schools, this is what we could have. That's how much we're wasting and squandering. Only because they know that these illegals are exactly what keeps them in power. That's why they have one-party rule. And that's why I'm telling you they're never going to allow that audit to take place. You forget 72%. You could have 102% vote for it. How'd you get the extra 2%? Whatever. 100% vote for it. They're not auditing that freaking state legislature. There's no way in hell. And the rainy day fund is gone. I'm telling you, it's gone. There is no rainy day fund. That's what they're covering up, among other things. That's why you're never going to see voter ID in this state. The Democrats are going to fight you tooth and nail. They're going to keep mail-in balloting as long as they can. That's what this is all about. Think about it. Name me one other constituency. I'm telling you, they don't fight for anybody else more than they fight for these illegals. When, here, union people out there, have they ever fought for you to get free health care? Have they ever said you should be put up in a 5-star hotel? Did they ever said you should have 3 catered meals a day? $64 from Spinelli's? And not just you, your spouse, and your kids? Eat for free. You want a cell phone? You got it. Oh, you have heating costs? We pay for your heating. You have energy bills? We pay for your energy. Oh, you want a $2,000 prepaid debit card? No problem. Here it is. Free Uber. They'll drive you around. Free dry cleaning. I swear to you. You want to get your nice dress cleaned up and we pay for you? Sure. When have they ever done that for you? And you can be the biggest Democrat hack there is. You work in one of these hack state agency jobs. And even then, they don't treat you like that. I mean, they treat you good, let's be honest. But they don't treat you like this. So the question is why? And remember, these are foreigners. These are non-citizens. These are criminals. These are people who have no business being in our state, in our country. You follow the money. It's the key to their power. 617-266-6868. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Andy.
Hi. Let's just recap a little bit, Jeff. The Democrats have been doing everything they can, hook and crook, to orchestrate a civil war in this country, to foment unrest in this country, and at every turn, their efforts have failed. Their efforts to propagandize through the corrupt media have failed. Their efforts to everything they wanted to do with this Big No Kings protest is just absolute flop. And the one last shoe, Jeff, that I was waiting for to drop was a false flag, some kind of major false flag. And I believe the deep state is doing everything they can to try to pull that off. One thing I've become very aware of just during this whole discussion, especially this morning, is now the Democrats are doing something even more sinister and absolutely evil. they are weaponizing hunger to try to foment this unrest that they are desperate to try to foment to try to drive Trump from power. Because all roads lead back to that. They've got this insane desire to drive Trump from power. And that's what this is all about. And it's just like, I mean, like we know for decades how Hamas and the Gaza Strip has literally used their own people as human shields. Hamas hides out in hospitals, they hide out in schools, and so, I mean, in order to fight Hamas, like their own people who are innocent get killed in the process. And that's exactly what would happen in a false flag. Their own people would literally get hurt and killed. Now they're basically starving their own people to try to get their way. This is what President Trump needs to do, Jeff. And he needs to do this today. He needs to go to the nation in an Oval Office address, and he needs to address the American people, and he needs to lay out everything that we've discussed on this program of what the Democrats are holding hostage to end this government shutdown. All of it, just the foreign aid for circumcisions, the foreign aid for LGBTQ, trans, whatever. And he needs to just meticulously lay out that this is what the Democrats are holding you hostage in exchange for. And he needs to say, I, as president, am not going to budge on this. So when you start losing those SNAP benefits tomorrow, and he should just make clear the over a dozen times the Republicans voted to open the government, and just explain to the American people that the Democrats have been consistently no, and this is what they're holding hostage for, and especially just the close to $1 trillion of health care for illegals. And he just needs to hold that hard line.
Oh, you nailed it. Andy, I'm telling you nailed it. Andy, you're one of our best callers, and this may be one of your best calls. I can only say three things, really, because I can only add to your really insightful analysis and your just outstanding points. Number one, I love that phrase. If you don't mind it, I'm gonna steal that one from you. Weaponizing hunger. I'm gonna be on Newsmax later this morning, and they're gonna ask me, I think, about the shutdown. I don't know, but if they do, I'm gonna use that phrase. That's a great phrase. They are weaponizing hunger. Number two, I think it's now imperative. We have to defeat locally. There's two ways to attack this. One, statewide, I mean locally in terms of Massachusetts, we have to defeat Maura Healey. We have to defeat her. This woman cannot get another term. I mean, she's the Joe Biden of Massachusetts. You know, like we saved the country by having Biden and Kamala lose in 2024. There's not going to be a state left if this woman wins another term. So whoever the Republicans pick, I will defend. I will endorse, I will defend in an anti-Healey alliance, which is to me an anti-Marxist, anti-communist alliance. This woman is insane. An anti-globalist alliance. What I do want to add is this. I'm sorry, but I have to add this to remind people. You know, we didn't have to have Healey. Jeff Deal would have been a very good governor. We had him on the ballot against Maura Healey. He won the Republican nomination against Chris Doty, that rhino globalist. He beat him fair and square. But he was stabbed in the back by the said, don't vote for him. By the Boston Herald, don't vote for him. And so the rhinos didn't vote for him. And that's what allowed her to win. And I'm sorry, we can never repeat that again. And finally, Trump needs to address the nation. I am so with you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I promise I'm going to go back to the phone calls. Just please take about a minute, and I want you to just take this in now. I want to give a hat tip to John F. Gately. He's the one who put the numbers up, and now they're going viral. It is the percentage of SNAP users by city or town in Massachusetts. And this is, we're saying, well, where are the numbers coming from? This is straight from the Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance. So these are numbers straight from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, from the government. These are the top 10 cities or towns whose populations are on SNAP. And I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised. The number one on that list is Springfield. Springfield, 47%. 47.4. I'm just going to round off for simplicity's sake, okay? Springfield, number one, 47% of the population in Springfield are on SNAP, on food stamps. Number two, Holyoke, 43%. Number three, Lawrence, the sanctuary city of Lawrence, 42%, 41.7, 42%. I'll be honest, I thought Lawrence would be number one. If you were to ask me, like on a game show, the number one city in Massachusetts on food stamps or SNAP, I'd say Lawrence. No, Lawrence is number three. Springfield is number one. 36%, Southbridge, they're number four, 36%. Fall River, number five, 34.3%. New Bedford, next, 34.2%. Brockton at number 8, 33.6%. North Adams, number 9, 33.5%. And number 10, Fitchburg, 30.3%. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. And almost all of these towns and cities are sanctuary cities. Almost all of them. The one that surprises me is Springfield. I didn't think it was that high. Number one, but that high. Lawrence, yes. I mean, I knew that. Holyoke, yes. Fall River, yes. Brockton, I knew there were illegals in Brockton, and I knew there were people on food stamps, but not that high, to be honest. New Bedford, yes. But this is a little bit surprising. I'm just saying. So that's the top 10 list. You can look it up, Mass DTA, and you can see where your town or city is ranked. Percentage of the population. Okay, very quickly. This is a text again from Grace. She rarely texts me throughout the entire show, but she's been doing this today because this is a very, very, this topic obviously gets to her. Jeff, we need to have a plan going forward. And the question now is, should the Republicans in Congress just end the filibuster, i.e. invoke the nuclear option? What do you do when Democrats are clearly sabotaging Trump and American citizens? They are holding us hostage. Something has to be done before millions of Americans go hungry or, God forbid, a plane crash happens. We are trying to save the Constitution, and it is noble, but they are trying to destroy. In fact, they are destroying the country. And this is just unacceptable. In other words, Grace's point is we're talking about, which is beautiful, don't get me wrong, and noble, but we're talking the Constitution, checks and balances, rule of law, protect our country in the future. In other words, these noble ideals, they're just destroying the country. They're burning it down. And so Grace is basically saying, I guess pretty much like Trump, it's time to take the gloves off. And we can worry about the filibuster and everything else down the road. In other words, end the filibuster, invoke the nuclear option, smash the Democrats, stop this before it gets out of hand. I don't like to give up the filibuster because I know what Democrats do when they're in power, but I'm starting to see the logic of the other side now. I'm starting to see it. 617-266-6868. Dave in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I had a couple comments, and but first, before I do that, I wanted to say thank you to you for. I'm the one who called back in the summer, the 54-year-old vet that wasn't getting anything, and you told me to call Mass disabled veterans there. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, well, I did. I called them, and things are actually happening now, and I have some of the benefits, and things are actually progressing. So I appreciate that.
Good.
Living
That's
in
all
New
that
Hampshire,
matters.
I never thought of.
Good. Very good. I'm very happy. You just made my day, Dave.
I'll just tell you that. But yeah, I wanted to tell you, like about a few years ago, my wife and I was out of work, and she was making very little money, and we went to go and we went to get to the DTA in Salem, Mass, the Department of Transitional Assistance. They turned us down.
Oh, Dave, can you please hang on? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, we're going to go back to Dave in New Hampshire and take all of your calls, I promise. But first, joining us now, as she always does at this time, she is the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services. And yes, that is her wonderful name, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. This time of year, we all start thinking about gratitude and how we can give back to the people and causes we love. But one of the most meaningful gifts we can ever give isn't wrapped in paper or tied with a bow. It's the clarity and comfort that come with a well-prepared estate plan. At Kelly Financial, we have an informative investor guide called The Greatest Gift. Outline your wishes with an estate plan. It helps families organize their assets, name decision makers, and outline their wishes so loved ones are not left guessing. You'll also find simple, smart gifting strategies to bless your family and your favorite charities while protecting your retirement income and your own peace of mind. To get your free copy, just give us a call or email us at kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Jeff, I'll continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or visit our website for the radio rewind. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. My best to Grace and the kiddos, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. All the best to you and everyone at Kelly Financial. Okay, my friends, for your free copy of the year-end checklist and action plan, call Kelly now, 888-800-1881, or if you prefer, you can email her directly, kelly@kellyfinancial.org, kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Okay, let's go right back to Dave in New Hampshire. So, disabled veteran was out of work by the grace of God. There go many of us. His wife was working but wasn't making that much money or enough money. They needed help. They needed food stamps, SNAP, and they went to the Department of Transitional Assistance. Please, Dave, pick up where we left off.
Okay, so yeah, my wife wasn't making much money. I was out of work. Luckily, it wasn't for that long of a time, but I mean, we barely had enough for the rent, never mind anything else. We went to the Department of Transitional Assistance in Salem, Mass., and they originally gave us $16 a month, and you can imagine how little that gets you a month. And the first month they gave it to us, the second month they did, and then they sent a letter saying that I made too much money the year before but this is now April or May of the new year, and I haven't made like any money now in over 3 months. So I don't know what that had to do with it, and they cut us off completely. And then we went to a couple of food banks, and I don't want to blame all food banks because I'm sure there are good ones, but two that we went to, one in Salem, one in Peabody, we went through, picked a few things, a couple of bags worth of stuff, and at the end they said, oh, you knew we have to ask you some questions, income, blah, blah, blah. And then they asked us, how many children do you have? I said, well, we don't have any children. We never did. And they said, oh, well, then you can't come here anymore. Apparently because after 18 years old, you don't eat any longer. So all these people, like I said, these illegals that get everything handed to them, I've never asked for a dime of anybody. I collected unemployment one time when I first came out of the Army because you could. And I've had it with all these people. Like I said, 60% and there are illegals on there, and they're getting $2,000 a month. And so, you know how many people I know that are elderly or veterans? And like I said, it was $16 back then. Now it's $22 a month that they're giving them. What are you going to get with that? And I don't understand it, and I don't think they should get rid of the filibuster. And I agree with, I think it was Dan who said Trump needs to address the nation because so many people do not know. They just know what ABC, NBC, so forth down the line tells them on TV. And Trump needs to get this information out, like you said, exactly why the government is shut down and doing, and weaponizing hunger. Like I said, how many veterans are out there? How many elderly people that don't have anything? I have a 70-year-old neighbor, next door. She has a very fixed income, and I already told her tomorrow I'm going to take her with me, and we're going to go to Market Basket, and I'm going to buy her a couple $100 worth of groceries. I can't help everyone, but I can help one.
Oh, God bless you, Dave. Seriously, God bless you. Dave, look, that's $16. I know now it's $22, but when you went, that's $16. That's an insult. I'm not trying to rile you up. I'm just being honest. That's a slap in the face. That's a spit in the face. Here. That's what it is. I'm sorry. Dave, if you don't mind me asking, and if I'm getting personal, please tell me. I promise I won't be offended. When you went to the food banks and they said, no, that's it. Here's your 2 groceries and don't come back. Or when you went to the Department of Transitional Assistance, did you tell them you're a veteran? Did they know you were a veteran? Like, did you say, hey, I served my country. I put my life on the line for all of you. Like, did they know that? Did you tell them?
I did, but they don't care about that. At the Department of Transitional Assistance, there wasn't a single person in there, and there was a lot of people in there. We had to wait a while. There was not a single person in there that spoke English, including the people working there, barely. And they didn't care. I mean, the people that were in there were pretty much the people that are the same ones that are all collecting it now, and they're just giving it to their people. They don't care about us, the Americans. Like I said, I have a good job now, and because of, your advice to call Mass TAV, I got things really rolling there. Things are going well now, but I've been through bad times, and I know many have. And we don't get the help that we need, but they're getting, like I said, how much does it add up to a month? Like with Healy down there. Thank God I live in New Hampshire now. I'm from Lynn. But how much does it add up to with the hotels, the 3 meals a day, the Uber rides, the phones? And I'm getting, they give me and my wife, for 2 people, $16 a month, and then cut it off after 2 months because I made too much money the year before. These people have been getting it for 20 years, some of them. Then their kids are getting it, and their grandkids. It's unbelievable, Jeff, and up in New Hampshire, we have a different rights, like when it comes down to firearms and stuff. And I hope these stupid idiots don't try to start taking bags from people in the parking lots up in New Hampshire, because that's when bad things are going to happen. You know what I mean? I would be careful on buying stuff for people, because there's going to be a lot of scammers out there too. Not only are people going to
you're right. No, Dave, you're right. I got to say, the moment I said it, this is how great all of you are, you and the whole audience. But I got emails and texts, and Jeff, be careful. There's scammers out there. They're gonna fleece you, man. They're gonna rob you blind, Jeff. So I'm like, no, I hear you. Dave, listen, again, I want to thank you for your service, and God bless you in every way. God bless you. And what you're doing for that neighbor tomorrow, you have a heart of gold, Dave. And thank you for sharing that story. I know Trump's people are listening. That story is so powerful. And it literally lays out exactly what's wrong with everything the Democrats are doing to our country. People like you who earned it weren't getting aid. and illegals are stealing us. They're robbing us blind. God bless you. And Dave, please don't be a stranger. Call again. 617-266-6868. So there you have it in a nutshell. Serves his country, hits hard times, $16 a month, blank you, 2 months, and then, you made too much money last year. So nothing. That's it. No more. And then he and his wife go to a food bank. Here's 2 groceries. Oh, no children? No? Oh, well, then don't come back. You think an illegal alien has ever been told that? $16, they give that to an illegal an hour. What for the whole month? That's an hour. If an hour. And they get all the food they want. Here, people are sending me emails with images. Cars, the trunks, stuffed with food. And these are illegals on food stamps. Like, you can't fit it in. There are so many grocery bags. Like, it's disgusting. And I gotta say, I don't want to be cruel, but some of these illegals, they could go on a diet. In other words, the food stamps get cut off tomorrow. That could be a good diet for some of these illegals. The shutdown diet. They could go for a good week or 10 days without eating, just water. I mean, holy shamoly. Jeez. I mean, they make me look slim. 617-266-6868. Mel in Saratoga, New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Mel?
Considering what all this madness that's going on in this country, perpetrated by the Democrats, it's up in the air. But Jeff, I wanted to ask, what is the possibility of a recall of Michelle Wu and what's her name there? It's the governor there, Maura Healey.
Hold it, Healey.
Oh, right. I mean, don't the people in Massachusetts have a right for a recall? Say even if there were 100,000 signatures on a petition to bring to the assembly or whatever.
Mel, my buddy, I hate to break it to you, but our moonbats are even crazier than your moonbats. And I know you're going to say, come on, Jeff. Nobody's crazier than ours. Michelle Wu is going to win election in November. Not just in a landslide, Mel. I would think you live to screw me, Mike. Like, if you haven't screwed me at least once a show, you're not a happy man. We're back on? All right. 9:48 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Phil in Salem. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
Yes, a fellow Croatian. Good morning and happy Halloween from the Witch City.
Happy Halloween, my fellow Croatian.
Anybody wonder how much money has been collected from the marijuana tax in this state? It's amazing, but we have never heard of how much money has actually been collected from the marijuana tax, and you never will. Because
that is a great
that
point.
Is an
That is such a
astoundingly
great
high
point.
Not only that, is 20%, and that also with sales tax, I think it winds up being about 24%. So, going to any marijuana shop, and that stuff's not cheap, I assure you. I go there because I buy the balm for my neuropathy. And you know something? People are dropping a couple of $100 every time they're in there. So,
Phil, seriously, or are you just joking?
Oh, the balm itself, and I'm a retired chemist in the biomedical industry, is $40 for a jar, 1 ounce. But it works, okay? And topically, it's better than taking pain pills, that's for sure. But all the money they collect from that.
No, sorry, Phil. I promise I'll let you finish your point. But no, really. So when you go to the local, whatever, pot shop, cannabis shop, whatever, you're saying you see customers dropping hundreds of dollars? Really?
You buy an ounce. They usually sell them by the eighth or the quarter ounce, and you're going anywhere $600 an ounce for good stuff.
Holy, $600 an ounce?
Sure, because you're looking at THC levels that are around anywhere from 24 to 32%, which is 5 to 6 times higher than what it was when I was a kid back in the 70s.
Oh, wow. Man, that's a lot
But
of
that's
money.
a lot of money. But you've never heard, they always tell you we made money from this, tax on that. But you know what? If you notice also about Ms. Healy and her reprobate lieutenant governor who destroyed Salem, Driscoll, who, by the way, looks like she should be on a SNAP diet, that's for sure. She gets so big she's going to get her own freaking zip code. But one of the problems is, if you noticed, after the cocaine bust out in Springfield, suddenly now they're going to stop the 13% hike in electricity. We didn't hear anything about that until some bad news came up. So it's amazing. It's
Phil, I got to ask you this. You're obviously a shrewd man, a worldly man, an insightful man. This rainy day fund, it's even many liberals in the media. I've never seen this before. They're like, this is odd. New York is at least going to do a stopgap temporarily. Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, but she won't. And they're the ones saying there's $8 billion in the rainy day fund. I mean, there's plenty of money to keep these SNAP payments going for a week or 10 days easy if she wanted to. So my question to you is, Phil, do you think she's not tapping into the fund because she spent the fund? In other words, she spent it all on the illegals and now she doesn't know what to do, so she's playing stupid? I mean, I'm just curious. What's your theory?
Not just her. It's the whole problem with the one-party state. I worked in Woburn for many years, and I remember all the hotels were always empty around there. But not when she was putting them up at the Hotel Healy. Those hotel rooms, even if they're the Motel 6 type, park the car in front and get your door, it's still a lot of money. Every hotel, Comfort Inn, Quality Inn, they're all packed. So when we had people coming in from out of town for conventions and conferences, you couldn't stay in the town that they were going to go to a meeting at because they were all packed with non-speaking parasites from third world countries who, like you said earlier, come here because of a free handout, which, by the way, by handing them any money, we're already breaking the federal laws that have been on the books for over a century. As you know, and I know, when you came through Ellis Island, every one of those people had to promise not to take federal assistance for 10 years. Now we just hand them money. Meanwhile, our vets get kicked in the ass, pardon my French, they kicked to the side of the street. They get treated like dirt. $16. You know what $16 will buy you? I can't even buy you a jar of balm if you have arthritis or neuropathy at a pot shop. It's astounding. And one quick thing, let us not go to the nuclear option. Does people forget that Harry Reid, when he bought the nuclear option, wound up shoving Obamacare where the sun doesn't shine? Boy, we don't need that to happen.
I remember that. No, Phil, that's why I'm so reluctant to go do the nuclear option and end the filibuster. No, I know my wife is now disagreeing with me on this, but I'm like, no, man, I remember Obamacare. No, I don't want a repeat of that. So, my fellow Croatian American, please, hey, don't be a stranger. Call again, my fellow American friend. That's why I'm sorry. I'm against ending the filibuster. I remember what it was like in the past when we were out of power, and we need that filibuster. I'm telling you, we need it. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thanks for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure.
You want to know what a communism? You want to know what a communist and a socialist is? Look at Wu. Look at Healy. Using the population, using the disabled people, the children, everyone that needs this funding, that you basically give them it till they can't take care of themselves. You give, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, we're going to stop this. We're going to cut all these benefits that we gave you. We're going to now enlist you and basically have an uprising at every store, at every venue that serves food. People are going to go ballistic over this, Jeff. When you've got people who are disgraceful, like Wu, like Healy, who are basically communists and socialists that are using the population against a successful government.
Against a successful president. No, you're dead on. They're weaponizing hunger.